Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some entitled parents. Our first story today comes to us from Kayla Clementine. Lady calls me and demands my family to stop talking to each other. Let's jump right in. To start off, I don't know if this story fits here, but I had to talk about it since this just happened today. For some short background, I, 17 female, live with my dad, 40 male. My parents are separated. I'm in Southeast Asia. For the past week, I've been living alone since my dad tested positive for the virus. Me and my neighbors were home quarantined. My house is in the center of a compound, 5 houses in total, including ours. My neighbors are my relatives, and we frequently visit each other's houses before we're quarantined because we consider ourselves a pretty close-knit bunch, and our compound was pretty noisy throughout the day. In the biggest house, there were 2 families living there, 4 kids, 1 baby, 3 adults, and 2 elders. The story: I've been getting regular texts and calls from a lady who is working for the neighborhood, I don't know what they're called, to monitor my health in case I also needed to be admitted. I didn't have any symptoms, and my temperature was normal. This morning, oh boy, I was in the middle of cooking some breakfast, and the lady who was monitoring my condition called, which was weird since she already texted me and asked for my temperature and if I had any symptoms. But I answered anyway. I started by saying, "Hello, good morning, how can I help you?" The lady, who had a slightly raised tone of voice, said, "You need to tell your family to stop talking to each other." Slightly confused, I asked, "Huh? What are you talking about?" The lady raised her tone of voice more and now practically yelling said, "The one at the big house, they're your family, right? The chief said that he personally saw all of you, including you, talking, hugging, and all that stuff. You are suspected of having the virus, so you're not allowed to talk to each other." Dumbfounded, I paused for a second and tried to explain that they literally live in the same house. But the lady cut me off. "Nuh-uh, young lady, don't even think about talking back, cause the chief himself said that he saw all of you. Now either you get your family to stop talking to each other or face the consequences." Obviously, this was all a lie, since I haven't gotten near my relatives nor got out of the house, except for when I feed our fish in my small backyard lagoon, which was nowhere near anyone. I was pissed at this point, since it was early in the morning and I haven't eaten breakfast yet. So I sighed and said, "Fine, I'll talk to them." The lady, with a much softer voice, said, "Good," and then hung up. I obviously wasn't going to go next door and talk with my relatives since there was a baby. I was afraid that they'd get sick even though I don't have any symptoms. Just a little precaution in case I did have the virus on me but didn't get sick from it. So I messaged our family group chat and said what the lady told me to say, word for word. My family laughed and scoffed, but also maliciously complied. As I've said earlier, our compound was pretty loud, but now, if you drive or walk past our compound, it would seem like the houses were abandoned. It was very quiet, except for the occasional cries of the baby and barks of our pet dogs. You could almost hear the rats squeak. No soul can be seen outside of the houses. I'll update this story if anything happens. Thanks for reading and have a good day. So that was posted 7 days ago to Entitled Parents. Within the last 24 hours, there has been an update. It says, first of all, no, I don't live in a cult and we're Catholic. Okay, so it's been 5 days ever since the lady, we'll call her Stephanie, not her real name of course, called. And because we complied that we stopped talking to each other, the chief actually called us and said, "Hey, are you guys okay over there? You've been really quiet recently. Remind you that we are normally a loud bunch and that we are friends with the chief." I said with a slightly sarcastic tone, "What do you mean, chief? We heard from one of your subordinates that you didn't want us to talk to each other." Slightly shocked and confused, the chief said, "What? Who said that? I never said you should stop talking to each other, and plus, most of you literally live in the same house." Continuing with my slightly sarcastic tone, I said, "Well, yeah, chief, that's why we were shocked when Stephanie said that you personally saw us talking to each other and that you didn't want us to talk to each other." The chief sighed. "Why didn't you call me earlier and tell me about this?" And I'm smirking at this point. "Well, Stephanie specifically said that you personally saw us, and that if we didn't stop talking, we'll be facing the consequences. We were scared that we'd get in trouble, so we just didn't question it. The chief sighed again. I just told her to remind all of you to be careful. Since your dad tested positive, I never said anything about having consequences. But I'll talk to Stephanie about this. I'll call you later. The chief hung up and I was smirking like an idiot, knowing that Stephanie was going to get into trouble. A few hours later, the chief called again. Hey, so I talked to Stephanie about what she said, and as an apology, I sent her to give all of you a small box of food supplies. If anything happens, call me immediately. I thanked the chief and hung up. A couple minutes go by and Stephanie showed up with 6 small boxes. She gave my relatives their share and came to me last. She was visibly annoyed and had a scowl on her face. I hope you're having fun. The chief only gave me 3 warnings before he fires me, and this is my 2nd warning. So as to compensate to what you did, I'll be taking half of your food supply. I was shocked. What? You can't do that. Is that why you brought 6 boxes, even though there are only 5 houses here? She started to open the box and rolled her eyes. You don't need this much food. I have 3 kids at home starving, so I'll be taking these. You're lucky I'm giving you half. Note, I'm bipolar, so I can't control my emotions half the time. I pushed her off, yelling at her to stop, and this bee sprayed me with alcohol in my eyes. I screamed in pain, and she rushed to get what she can at the small box and bolted out of there. My family heard my scream and rushed to my house. They bumped into Stephanie while she was running with a small box, but they didn't think much of it because they thought she was in a rush, and that I was screaming, so obviously I was more important. After, they helped me rinse my eyes and made sure nothing went wrong. They asked what happened. I told them to call the chief because Stephanie stole from the food supply and that she sprayed me with alcohol in my eyes. After a couple of rings, the chief answered, "Hello, did you get the food supplies?" I said, slightly mad, "Yes, we got the food supplies, but Stephanie stole some from my box and sprayed me in the eyes with alcohol. I can't believe you're letting someone like that work for the neighborhood." Slightly concerned, the chief said, "Oh no, are you okay? I'll deal with Stephanie right away and send you back what she stole. I'm deeply sorry for what she has done." I sighed. I want to press charges on her. She stole from a 17-year-old and assaulted me by spraying alcohol in my eyes in my own home. So I hope you understand. Yes, I understand. I'll help with anything you need. I'll call the cops on your behalf. I thanked the chief again and hung up. I'm currently still in shock that Stephanie had the audacity to do what she did. Good thing the chief is really nice. I won't update anything about the charges I'm going to press on her. So you mean to tell me that she knew she was on 2 strikes and then she decides to take half of the food supply anyway? You know, some people just can't help but shoot themselves in the foot. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Plunked. Yep, I think I got that right. How my entitled mom reacted to my bus accident. Let's jump right in. I was 16, riding the city bus home from school in the middle of winter. Besides myself, there was the driver and 2 other passengers, both adult men. One sat near the front, the other sat in the middle side seats, and I was in the back left corner. We were a few blocks away from the depot where I needed to switch buses, when we were T-boned by a car that ran a stop sign. The impact caused me and the dude sitting in the side seat to fly forward, but luckily for me, I grabbed onto the handrail for the standing passengers and was able to swing myself to the seat in front of me, though the jerking sensation wasn't pleasant. The driver had the airbags go off on him, and the other passenger was saved by the seat in front of him. The guy that went flying landed near the front of the bus and was more shocked than hurt, thankfully. I, too, was in shock, so I wasn't feeling any pain or dizziness at that time. Now, before this happened, this was a typical day for me. I had been riding the city bus to and from school for about 3 years because my mom was a single mother who worked overtime, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., though her normal work hours were 7 to 2. On this particular day, my mom needed to get off work early for her to take care of something at the bank. She made a point all week to tell me, "I'm not going to pick you up from school," which I didn't ask, but she just liked, I don't know, making me feel like she had more important things than me going on. Anyway, I was already planning on taking my usual route home. Well, after the accident, A female police officer showed up, and because I was a minor, she couldn't question me without my mom present, despite me insisting my mom would waive her right to be there. The following is the conversation I had with my mom on the phone in front of the officer. What? I'm already on my way to the bank. Yeah, about that. There is nothing that will stop me from going to the bank today. This is important. Yeah, so there was an accident. This isn't funny. Side note, my mom said the same thing to her father the night he died when he had a shortness of breath. Mom, I'm being serious. I was on the bus near the station and we got T-boned. At this point, the officer could tell that I wasn't getting anywhere with my mom and asked if she could take my phone. Hi ma'am, this is Officer Blah, and I need to ask your daughter what happened, and I cannot do that without her mother present. I'm guessing mother was insisting she didn't need to be there. Ma'am, your daughter was involved in a pretty bad accident, and with car accidents, sometimes the effects aren't immediately apparent, so you need to come get your daughter in case she needs medical attention. The officer nods her head and returns the phone back to me. Yeah? I am not happy about this. I'm on my way. Do you feel fine? Yeah, I think so. Just shook up a little. Then we're going straight to the bank. I don't have time for this crap. Okay, see you soon. My mom showed up 3 minutes later, and the officer asked me what happened, to which I couldn't really answer. I was looking out of the opposite window listening to, and I won't forget, Pumping Up the Party by Hannah Montana. Haven't listened to it since. After I give my statement, the officer asks me again how I'm feeling. I tell her the same, in shock. She turns to my mother and implores her to immediately take me to the hospital if I start feeling woozy, dizzy, nauseated, or have any sort of aches and pains. My mom basically waved her hand and said, yeah, and off to the bank we went. Sure enough, the second we sat down to wait, the nausea and spinning kicked in. I suffer from motion sickness already, but this was like when you take a pain pill that's too strong and you feel like you want to die. My mom, the unsympathetic person she was, told me to suck it up and stop acting like I don't even know what she said. People would walk by us and ask if I was okay, and she'd tell them I was overreacting. When we got into the banker's office, even he was like, I don't feel comfortable assisting you when your daughter looks like she needs medical attention. My mom didn't bother telling anyone what just happened to me, and I was so dizzy and dazed I couldn't speak for myself. Thank goodness that banker put his foot down and told her to come back the next morning. Of course, my mom had a Karen fit, and the banker basically gave her the option of him calling CPS and the police and not finishing helping her, or she could come back tomorrow morning. Either way, he wasn't going to help her until I was taken to the doctor. I don't think we got out of there fast enough. At this point, the bank was closed, and we were the last ones in there. I think we were there for almost 2 hours by the time we left. We finally get to the ER. I get x-rays and a bunch of other tests. Sure enough, I had a neck sprain and severe whiplash. This all happened on a Friday, so I was called out of school until Wednesday the following week. I couldn't turn my neck for about a month, and I couldn't sit in a desk for the longest time. My teachers, thankfully, were sympathetic and had no problem lending me their desks during class, since teachers always have the comfy chairs. My classmates were also helpful. I don't think I carried my own bag for that entire time either. The funniest part about this story is how my sensei, Japanese language teacher, told my classmates I was hit by a bus. So when I came back on Wednesday, everyone looked at me like I came back from the dead. Even until I graduated, people would ask me if I got hit by a bus. I felt like Regina George, and it was hilarious to me. But the fact that my mom couldn't give two craps over my well-being because her bank appointment was more important still baffles me to this day. She suffered the same situation when I was a baby and when I was in second grade, and I remember how for years after her accidents, she always brought them up. When I'm finally in the same situation, I'm just faking it. Makes me wonder how much she faked to just assume everyone else was faking. So my question is, what the heck at the bank is more important than one of your family members who's been injured in an accident? I've got to be honest, if one of my kids called me up and the words accident and bus were in the first sentence, I would be down there in a heartbeat. There definitely won't be any Mother of the Year awards going to that house. Maybe we should send them a Karen of the Year award. Check out both OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.